So now that we've played with 1-point perspective and we've played with 2-point perspective using blocks that are all parallel to one another, let's take a look at what happens when you have building blocks and they aren't all parallel. So you might have one block that's in 1-point perspective, you might have another block or even a couple blocks that are in 2-point perspective, but then you might have some that are also in 2-point perspective but are facing a different way, right? So they're not parallel. We still know it's 2-point perspective because it's the edge of the block that's closest to us. We're not looking at the full face of the block, but it's no longer at the same, they're no longer parallel. So what that means is the horizon line is going to stay the same, but our vanishing points are going to shift. So let's take some time and play with that for a moment. Okay, so now we're going to do our last of the stacked boxes exercise. This time I have 1-point and 2-point perspective combined, and with 2-point perspective the boxes are all going at a different angle from one another. So the first one, the top book, Harry Potter book here, I can see a lot of the spine. That shows me that the vanishing point is really far off to the edge. So I'm going to put it as far off as I can where you can still see it, like right over here. And then the spine is, probably way over here somewhere. We may not even get this whole drawing in the frame of the camera. And then that other spine, that spine I can see quite a bit of, don't see a lot of. So that shows me that that vanishing point is a lot closer, okay, to the spine of the book. And it's kind of a narrow book, so it has kind of a short spine there. So again, I'm just going to go ahead, and I could start with the bottom book and go up. I happen to be starting with the top book. Again, it's kind of personal preference in this case because they're all kind of equal to each other. So I'm going to line up the spine of that book with my vanishing point, making sure it's right on there. Okay, so now that I've got the two edges, I need to figure out the depth, the size of the book, the depth of the book, and they are, let's see here, where is that? It's probably based on the angle, something maybe like this. So figuring out, using a little sighting to figure out where exactly I think this angle is here. So once I have my first book in, I can go along and I can go from book to book, figuring out each other one. So the spine of this next book is kind of to the left of this one. Okay, so now I'm drawing in the second book. The second book is in 1-point perspective. The spine of the book is right at me. Make this a little bit more rectangular here. And I found my vanishing point. It's up here. So I use sighting to figure that one out. So the horizon line stays the same. I can't stress that enough. Your horizon line is not going to change. What's going to change are the vanishing points on the horizon line. Why does the horizon line not change? Well, the horizon line doesn't change because my point of view doesn't change. So because my eye level doesn't change, the horizon line doesn't change. So a big common mistake that I see is I start seeing 3 or 4 or 5 different horizon lines or vanishing points off the horizon line. You know you're going wrong if you have more than one horizon line, okay? So only one horizon line, but our vanishing points are going to change on that horizon line. So again, if it's 1 point perspective, we're seeing the whole spine of the book in this case, or box, and it's a rectangle. On this one, wherever you see, here we have something in 2 point perspective, this edge of the book I'm seeing more of, or if it were, a box or whatever it is, I'm seeing more of this edge than I'm seeing of this edge. That means that this vanishing point is farther away. This vanishing point, it's going away from me at a steeper angle, is a little bit closer. So that can help give you some clues as to where your vanishing points are. So once I've got my first 2 books, I'm just going to keep working my way down, looking at the edge first to get a sense of where the edge is. And so this edge is closer to me than this spine. So it's closer to me. So that's where vertical location comes into play. And it's actually, I was about to draw it over here, but using my sighting, using my midpoints, I can see that it's actually a lot closer to the halfway point of this book. So it's really way more over here. And this book happens to be a much thicker book. So the spine, it's probably about twice as thick as the last book I drew. So it's about over here. And this one, if I'm using my sighting, this one is a little bit more at that 45-degree angle where I'm seeing somewhat equal sides, but I do see more of this side than I see of this side. So these vanishing points are going to be farther away than the other ones. So it might be off the camera there. And then this vanishing point might be in a little bit closer. So it's at more of an angle than this book was, okay, because it's being rotated. So this side, this vanishing point here, right, for this book is now, for this book, it's way over here because this book is getting rotated, right? It's rotating. So my vanishing points are shifting. So that means this vanishing point also is coming in. So if that vanishing point came in, this vanishing point also has to come in. So I can kind of use a combination of sighting, but also logic to help me. And I also know that this edge here, this top edge, I can kind of even use some sighting to see. I knew that this spine was about halfway down this book, and using my sighting, I can see that about 1/3 of the way down there is about where that diagonal matches up. So let's just, for the fun of it, see if in fact that's about where it does hit. Oh, not too far off actually. Just a little bit more over, right around here. We'll kind of go halfway in between. Okay. Now, the more observations I can make about where lines intersect one another, that, will help me figure out those vanishing points. Okay, that vanishing point goes up to there. This vanishing point comes here. And here. Okay, and I can look at the depth of the book. I actually can't see the back side of this book. It's being blocked by this book, and I can just see the edge of it peeking down here. So that's just a vertical line that comes right around there. All right, and You know, if I shift just a little bit, I can see the back edge of that book. So I think that's actually more the position I was in. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw the back side of that book, peeking out back here. And that would give me the back corner. That goes to that vanishing point there. All right, I'm 3 books down. I've got my next book. My next book rotates a little bit closer to this one again, just a little bit over. So the spine of the book moves down around here now, just the littlest bit. And because the book is shifting, the vanishing point is shifting. And if I use sighting, I can see that it is in between the two, because angle-wise, it's not quite as angled as this one. It's somewhere in between this angle and this angle, which means the vanishing point is also in between those two angles. So I can use that to help me draw. And actually this one, let's see, looks like it comes in even more. Let me. Okay, I played around a little bit until I figured out exactly where I thought that vanishing point should be. So combination of sighting and comparing it to the other books that I had drawn, I got this vanishing point blocked in here, just a little bit over from where that original one was. And over this way, it's also just a little bit from where that top book. Okay, so it comes here. This book, of course, covers it, so we can erase the orthogonal there where it overlaps it. Comes from behind, and this edge of the book here is just, I'm going to close one eye to even really see it better. Sometimes closing one eye can just kind of help you get that alignment. And that book is just pretty similar to where this one, I'll go ahead and draw it in around here. Move to the right. Okay, and then I can show me where that back edge is. All right. So we have, whoop, let me see a little bit of the orthogonal right there. All right, so the orthogonal kind of comes and goes as it tucks behind these other books here. And it goes to about here. All right, so there's that book. And then my last book is actually in one point perspective again, and it comes, the corner of this book is over it, so it comes around like this. And it is using that same one point perspective vanishing point as that other book that was in one point perspective. I just want to get it lined up. Yeah, it's actually pretty lined up with that other book too. It comes out a little farther. Okay, so now I have my spiraling books here. Not 100% exactly accurate from the way the books were, but it shows you close enough how I have all of my books, both 2 of them that happen to be in 1-point perspective, 3 of them that were in 2-point perspective, and my vanishing points shifting on the horizon line, but always one horizon line. The vanishing points are what move, but they always stay on the horizon line depending on the different angle of the box or book that you're drawing.